Barakatah Yahweh, Ba'Hashem Yahushai, Ba'Hashem Racha Kodash. Welcome to another live lesson. The name of this one is Them Damned Amalekites. And pretty much this is a continuation from a lesson I was doing yesterday, which I didn't get a chance to get to the second half of the chapter in Exodus 17. So Lord's will, in this lesson we can get into it and it'll be edifying. But before I get into the lesson, I put this in the description box. This is the street speaking from yesterday. It's on GMS Apostles Street Ministry. And pretty much what I do is pretty much every week I've been downloading the videos and putting it up on my Odyssey page. But it's been getting harder and harder for me to download these videos for some reason. I've tried different sites. I've even tried downloading sites to my channel. To my computer, doing it that way, and it just seems like it's getting more and more impossible to do that. So this week, if you just want to see the video, I got it in the description box. You just got to click on it, subscribe to GMS Apostle Street Ministry. We're trying to build this channel up, to be the new channel for the street speakings, and you can find the video here. In the future, of course, Lord's will, I'm going to still try to, take these videos and upload them to my Odyssey page, in case anything happens to any of these pages. But for the time being, you can watch it here. Lord's will, I can figure out a way to get these, these videos downloaded and uploaded to Odyssey. So with that being said, we're dealing with Amalek now. All right. Amalek is one of the descendants of the Edomites. But before we get into that, let's go to the definition of Amalek. Amalek was a nation described in the Hebrew Bible as a staunch enemy of the Israelites. The name Amalek can refer to the nation's founder, a grandson of Esau, his descendants, the Amalekites, or the territories of Amalek, which they inhabited. All right. And if you want more information, you could click on here on Amalek in Wikipedia, and they'll give you a lot more information. This goes back to the same site, so on and so forth. So with that being said, let's get into the scripture where we were at yesterday in Exodus 17, and we left off on the 8th verse. It says Amalek fought. All right, and in this lesson, Lord's will, we're going to get into a scripture in the book of Numbers. It's going to mention a particular phrase, and that phrase is a two-part phrase. So Lord's will, when we get to it, we could explain what it means, the two major points of it, and then take it from there. So it says, Exodus 17:8. Then came Amalek and fought with Israel and Rephidim. Okay, so this is where we're at with it. This is a fight that happened. We're going to read the story, how Moses was there, Aaron was there, Hur was there, and Moses had the two stones, the tables of stones in his both arms. And as long as they were kept raised, our forefathers won the battle. But when his arms started getting heavy, then we started to lose the battle. But we're going to get into that. But before we do get into that, let's go to the book of Genesis 36. All right, let's start at the first verse, and we're going to do a little jumping around here. It says, now these are the generations of Esau, who is Edom. Because remember, when you go to Genesis 25, which is the birth of the Edomites, which were our twin brothers pretty much, or our twin brother pretty much, from a so-called black man and a so-called black woman named Isaac and Rebecca. And pretty much the two sons that came out of Rebecca, one was named Esau, the other one was named Jacob. All right. And Esau, within the same chapter, when he sold his birthright, his name was changed from Esau to Edom. Now, when you break those two words down in the Hebrew, when you go to the Hebrew on those words, they're not going to give you, in the blue letter, they're not going to give you the proper breakdowns. But when you go to the name Esau and you go to the Ben Yehudi English Hebrew dictionary, you have to look up the two compound, because it's a compound word, a compound name. Esau is Aishashwa. The way you say it in the Hebrew, right here, as you can see it, is the word Aishah, or Aishashwa. Now, the Aish or the Aishash is separate from the Wa. The Wa at the end, if it's not connected to the Hebrew, is his or he. All right, the Aish or the Aishash is wasted. So wasted he, or wasted away, is he. Why? Because when he came out of his mother's womb and Isaac saw him, he said, wasted away is he, Aishah or Aishashwa. Okay, and the word Edom, which here they have it right here, Adawam, they try to confuse purposely the word Edom or Adawam with the name Adam or Adama. Now the two words or the two names look similar. They're somewhat spelled a little similar, but they're two totally different words. But when you go to Adawam or Edom, they connect it to H123, and then they try to, and you see here what it say? Adam, because they're trying to connect it with Adam. It has nothing to do with Adam. All right, it's a total different word, because the name Adam or Adama means ground. All right, we're composed of water and earth. All right, so Adam means ground, Adama, and Edom or Adawam means red. All right. That's what it means, red. And why was his name called red? First of all, he was red all over. And then second of all, he sold his birthright, and that's when his name was changed to Edom. So Esau is Edom. All right. Now, when we jump down to the 8th verse, it says, thus dwelt Esau in Mount Seir. Esau is Edom, right? Because they try to tell you that Esau means hairy. Esau does not mean hairy. It means wasted away is he. The word seer means hairy or hair. It goes back to the Hebrew word sha'ir. Sha'ir means hair. When you go here to the word seer, you have the word there sha'ir or sha'ayar. All right? Sha'ir or sha'ayar, which means hairy or shaggy. It really means hairy. All right? It says patriarch of the Horites. No, he's not. He was not a patriarch of the Horites. Or he was. The original people of Seir that lived in that land were Hamites. They were Horites. All right, they came from a man named Hor, H-O-R, which the word Hor or Horite means mountain, okay, or hill. And they were the original inhabitants of the land of Edom until Esau took over. So they are correct on that. And that's why when you go into this when you go into that genealogy of Esau, see, here goes the word sha'ir, okay, which really means hair or hairy. All right. And when you go into the genealogy, it's a two-part genealogy, because a part of it is Esau and his descendants, and then it comes to a point where it veers off into the Horites or the Hamites, but they are not the same people. All right. They just happened to live in that land before the Edomites did. All right. So it goes on to say, and these are the generations or the genealogy of Esau, the father of the Edomites in Mount Seir. So you can make no mistake that when it speaks about Esau, or Esau and Edom, or Edomites, are interchangeable. Mount Seir, interchangeable with the Edomites, with the people of Esau. Now we jump down to the 12th verse, because Esau himself, he had 5 sons. These are the names of Esau's sons: Eliphaz, the son of Adah, the wife of Esau; Reuel, the son of Bashimath, the wife of Esau. And the sons of Eliphaz were Teman, Omar, Sepho, and Gatam, and Kenaz. There's another, I'm not sure if it's in First Chronicles, but it gives you Esau's 5 sons. Because here it only gives you 2 sons. You know, so I believe that's in First Chronicles, if I'm not mistaken, where it speaks about Esau or Edom. Let me see something. First Chronicles 1 and 34. Let's see if we can go up above that a little bit. Okay. And Abraham begat Isaac, the son of Isaac, Esau and Israel. The sons of Esau, Eliphaz, Reuel, and Jeush, and Jaalam, and Korah. Okay? Now, see, this is where these devils play games. Because Korah was what? That was one of the sons of Aaron, right? The Korahites or something like that, which were some of the priests. So you'll see this and say, well, see, the Korahites, they were really Edomites because they had the same name. You have to remember, a lot of those names were used by a lot of different people because they all spoke Hebrew at one time. So a lot of names were very interchangeable. You know, they were very common. So they were used among different people. Now the name here, Reuel, you also have Raguel. I believe they're both synonymous with each other. And Raguel was one of the names of Jethro's, of Moses' father-in-law, Jethro. All right. So that's why they make them, they either purposely or ignorantly make the mistake and say that certain particular people are Edomites because they had the same name as other Edomites. All right. So this is what we're dealing with. Esau had 5 sons, you know, I just showed you there, right? Now, when we jump back to Genesis 36 and 12, it says, and Timnah was concubine to Eliphaz, Esau's son, and she bare Eliphaz Amalek. These were the sons of Adah, Esau's wife. So this was, Amalek was Esau's grandson. All right. And that goes back to the name Amalek. Right. Amalek. You know. Amalek, dweller in the valley. I'm not sure if that's exactly what it means. I will have to do more research to find out. But it's plausible. Son of Eliphaz by his concubine Timnah, grandson of Esau, and progenitor of the tribe of the people in southern Canaan. No, he's not. See? You see how these devils try to slide that in there? Now, if they were being honest, they would have said, you know, the people of the Edomites, which you know they ain't going to put the so-called white men there, you know, in what used to be called southern Canaan. But you see how they, you know, like in another part, you look up the name Esau and they say that they're descendants of the Arabs. Because Esau is always trying to remove the label of being Esau or the Edomites from them, you know. And that's why years ago when we used to be on the streets, which I learned from One West, you know, when you used to see them, you used to call them Beni Asaph. Beni Asaph is sons of Esau, or Banya Adawam. Okay, so going back, Amalek, and I've, you know, I don't remember how long ago, but I've incorporated this into the curses. You know, you used to say curses against our enemies, the Edomites, the nations, so on and so forth. And I also added Amalek Yum, which is the Amalekites. These are some real devious, dirty, rotten scoundrels. All right, so that's what we wanted to get or accomplish in that verse there. Now, let's go to the book of Numbers, chapter 24. And we're going to go straight to the point, but I may read a little bit above just to kind of give you an idea. This pretty much is the account of Balaam running down to Balak, who hired him to put a curse on our people. He's giving him a rundown of what he saw in the future because his eyes were open. The Lord allowed him to prophesy about things in the future, things concerning our nation, the nation of Israel. And he was so taken aback and he was so in awe that even at one point he pretty much said in so many words, I wish I could be an Israelite. Because he said, I wish my latter end would be like theirs. So pretty much he was saying he wished he could be an Israelite. You know? So when we read here in Numbers 24:15, and he took up his parable and said, Balaam the son of Beor, have said, the man whose eyes are open, have said, he have said, which heard the words of the Most High, and knew the knowledge of the Most High, which saw the vision of the Almighty, falling into a trance, but having his eyes open. Why? Because the Most High gave him a vision of the future concerning the nation of Israel and concerning the other nations. Now keep in mind, this is a future vision. And this never really happened. It happened for a short period of time during the time of King Solomon, but it's going to happen on a way larger scale when the kingdom of heaven is established very soon. It says, I shall see him, but not now. I shall behold him, but not nigh, meaning Yahushai. There shall come a star out of Jacob, which is Yahushai, and a scepter shall rise out of Israel. What is a scepter? A star and a scepter, that represents rulership. All right, the scepter part represents rulership, crowns, right? And shall smite the corners of Moab and destroy all the children of Sheth. Why? Because when Yahushua comes, he's coming to take down all rulerships of all these nations. Then he goes into, and Edom shall be a possession, meaning the land of Esau shall be a possession. Seir also shall be a possession for his enemies. Right. So the tribe of Judah is going to inhabit those lands. Why? Because after the Edomites go through their captivity of 1,000 years of hardcore slavery, they're going to be wiped off the map. They're going to be blown they're going to be burnt, according to Obadiah 1:18. Okay? It says, and Israel shall do valiantly. This never happened. This is about to happen in the kingdom of heaven. Out of Jacob shall come he that shall have dominion, which is Yahushai, and shall destroy him that remaineth of the city. Because Yahushua is coming to do battle. He's coming to do destruction. It says what? Who is this that cometh out of what? From Edom with dyed garments. And when he looked on Amalek, this is the main focus, because the Amalekites, I said the Amaleks, are Edomites. But this portion right here in the 18th verse is not talking about the Edomites. It's talking about their lands, the land of Edom, Mount Seir, which was a possession, and it still belongs to them, even though they may not be in that land for the most part, but it still belongs to them. But it's going to be turned over to the tribe of Judah. So when we jump to the 20th verse, and when he looked on Amalek, he took up his parable and said, Amalek was the first of the nations. Now that is a twofold meaning. All right, if you don't know what twofold means, then look it up. Twofold means two parts to it. The first part of this, which we're going to read, Lord's will, in the book of Exodus 17, was they were the first nation that we actually warred with, which we're going to read about that war, Lord's will. And also they are the first of the nations. Why? Because they are the head families, or the head family today that's governing over all the entire planet. That's why when you look at the origins and the money that's being made, it's being made by these small hats. Now, you have individuals out there that say, well, I don't believe that it's a J-Wish, put it together, J-E-Wish conspiracy, because, you have different people from different nations. But when you go back to the origins of those people, they're pretty much all Edomites. And when you go back to their origins, they've changed their last names. They changed their place of origin to get away from that small hat, identity. Just like when the ones that came over to this side of the world, they used to speak a language called Yiddish, and they got away from that. Why? Because if you have done your research, you know that particular language, which is a combination of many other different languages, including the German language, goes back to somebody called the K to the Zar. All right, had to do it that way because of the algos, because that's how it goes with the algos. All right, so if you want to learn more about that history, you can get a book called, you might be able to get it online, read it online too. Arthur Koestler, the 13th tribe, and he goes into their whole history, and they killed him because he brought out Too much information. And he came to the conclusion that if the small hats are Israelites, there will have to be a 13th tribe. Okay? So that's the twofold part of this scripture. Yeah, German, Russian, English. Well, actually, it wasn't English. It was German. It was Ladino, I believe, was one of them. I believe there was some Turkish in there or something. Like it was a bunch of different languages that were all, mingled in there. It says, but his latter end shall be that he perish forever. Why? Because all of the Edomites will be rounded up and burnt, according to Obadiah 1:18, after they serve their punishment. All right. Now, let's go from there. Let's go to Deuteronomy 25. Before we go to... Now, you know what? Yeah, let's go to Deuteronomy 25. Deuteronomy 25. And it's a couple of verses. Let's read the 17th verse. It says, remember what Amalek did unto thee by the way when ye were come forth out of Egypt, how he met thee by the way and smote the hindmost of thee, even all... Matter of fact, you know what? Let's just go to it. Let's go back. Let's go back to Exodus 17, and we're going to read this history, and then we'll continue on from there, because that's a lot of meat right there. So Amalek fought, Exodus 17:8. Then came Amalek and fought with Israel in Rephidim. And Moses said unto Joshua, choose us out men, and go out fight with Amalek. Tomorrow I will stand on the top of the hill with the rod of the Most High in mine hand. So Joshua did as Moses had said to him, and fought with Amalek. And Moses, Aaron, and Hur went up to the top of the hill. And it came to pass when Moses held up his hand that Israel prevailed, and when he let down his hand, Amalek prevailed. So Salaki, I went off earlier when I said that he had the tables of stone on his hand. He had the rod of the Most High. Salaki, that was my mistake. We admit when we were wrong. So it wasn't the tables of stone. It was actually the rod of the Most High that he was holding up. The same one that he did all those great miracles with, parting of the Red Sea, the smoting of the rock, where the Lord caused water to come out. But Moses' hands were heavy, and he took a stone and put it under him. See, that's where I got the stone from. So they put a stone under him to sit down, and he sat thereon, and Aaron and Hur stayed up his hands, the one on the one side and the other on the other side. See? And his hands were steady until the going down of the sun. And Joshua discomfited Amalek and his people with the edge of the sword. Right. Why? Because it was commanded of the Lord to do this. All right. And it said that they smote the hinder part of them. Right. Just bear with me 1 second. Bear with me 1 second. Okay. Now, before we read on, let's go here to Exodus. Right? Exodus 25:17 again. Remember what Amalek did unto thee by the way when you were come forth out of Egypt, how he met thee by the way and smote the hindmost of thee, even all that were feeble behind thee, when thou was faint and weary, and he feared not. And that's not the Most High. And that's how these devils do. See how it said that he smote the feeble behind thee when thou was faint and weary? Yeah, because that's what the devil does. He don't fight a fair fight. They thought they had an easy fight. I'm not sure if that was I don't know if that was Wounded Knee or another battle that they had, where they thought that they were going to have, an easy fight because that devil Custer, that devil Satan Custard, I know his name is Custer, was there. And they thought that, because that what they would do is that when the Braves were out, they would massacre the women and children and act like they came off with a victory. Fucking devils. Therefore it shall be, when the Lord thy power hath given thee rest from all thine enemies round about in the land which the Lord thy power giveth thee for an inheritance to possess it, that thou shalt blot out the remembrance of Amalek from under heaven. Thou shalt not forget it. Right. And this is coming. Even though we got the land back then, remember, the other nations, the Canaanites were supposed to be totally wiped out. They weren't. All right. So these devils are still around to this day. So going back to Exodus 17 and 14, and the Lord said unto Moses, write this for a memorial in a book and rehearse it in the ears of Joshua, for I will utterly put out the remembrance of Amalek from under heaven. And we're still waiting for this, because Edomites are our greatest enemies. But the top Edomite enemy of ours are the Amalekites, which was a grandson of Esau, whose name was changed to Edom. It says, and Moses built an altar and called the name of it Yahweh Nissi. It says Jehovah Nissi here, but it's Yahweh Nissi, which means the Most High or Yahweh's banner. All right. Now the Hebrew for Nissi is Nasayah, Yahweh Nasayah, or Yahweh Nasiyah. All right. So it says, and Moses built an altar and called the name of it Yahweh Nasayah, for he said, because the Lord hath sworn that the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushai will have what? War with Amalek from generation to generation. And that has not ceased. Even to this day, you still have Jakes that war with Amalek. I'm not sure if that was Crown Heights. I could be mistaken. There was a situation, I believe it was out in Brooklyn years ago, where this Amalekite ran over Jake. I believe he either killed him or he injured him really bad, and the ambulance wouldn't stop because it was a small hat ambulance, and there was a big melee that went down out there because of that. So there's always been wars between our forefathers and them. And another great war that Lord's will we're going to speak about is the war that gave us, the high holy day that we still celebrate to this day, called Purim. And Lord's will we get to that. But before that, we're going to get to this here, dealing with Saul's disobedience, because the Lord told him to go to the Amalekites and to kill them all. Kill them all. Let's see. Yeah, this is a war, with the nations. And these Amalekites, man, they've been a special kind of demons. All right, so let's go. Let's move to the 15th chapter. 1 Samuel 15 and 1. Samuel also said unto Saul, the Lord sent me to anoint thee to be king over his people, over Israel. Now therefore hearken thou unto the voice of the Lord, unto the voice of the words of the Lord, Yahweh. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, I remember that which Amalek did to Israel, how he laid wait for him in the way when he came out of Egypt. Just bear with me 1 second. Okay. How he laid wait for him in the way when he came out of Egypt. Now go and smite Amalek and utterly destroy all that they have, and spare them not, but slay both man and woman, infant and suckling, ox and sheep, camel and ass. And we know the history that the King Saul didn't do that. and you can read the rest of the rest of the story here to get, you know, the intricacies of, or the rest of what happened and how, you know, this took place. We're gonna jump down to the excuse me. I just want to get down to the main point. 32nd verse. Then said Samuel, bring ye hither to me Agag, the king of the Amalekites. Now keep this name in mind, Agag. All right? Because this is a very important name, you know, concerning these Amalekites. All right? And you got to remember that these nations remember this history. You know, that's why do you think the woman at the well told Yahushai, our fathers worship in this mountain? You know, why do you think though that the heathens, when they came to Zerubbabel and Joshua, told them that since the day of Esarhaddon, you know, we've been, you know, in this land worshiping, because these nations knew the history. So just as well as they knew the history of them being converts being brought into the land, they also know, or forcible conversion, they also know the history of, you know, the wars that we had with their nations and how we defeated them in certain wars. All right, you got the word Agag. Now, I will overtop, king of Amalek, spared by Saul, but slain by Samuel. All right, Amalekitish kings, a little of Amalekitish kings. All right, so let's go back. Let's read that again. Then said Samuel, bring ye hither to me Agag, the king of the Amalekites. And Agag came unto him delicately. And Agag said, surely the bitterness of death is past, because he didn't think he was going to get put to death because Saul spared him. And Samuel said, as thy sword hath made women childless, so shall thy mother be childless among women. And Samuel hewed Agag in pieces before the Lord in Gilgal. All right. So it was he's hewed them, and this is a prophet of the Most High. Took this devil and hewed them, meaning chopped them up with a sword in chunks. You know, they were Agagite chunks flying all over the place. Heads, eyes, necks, heads, limbs, you know. You know, he made a stew out of Agag, you know. And hewed them in pieces. More than cut him in half. He hewed them in pieces. You know? Right here it says, and Samuel hewed Agag in pieces before the Lord in Gilgal. All right? The word there is shasap. To hew in pieces, cut in pieces, meaning dubious, to cut in pieces. An example, slaughter. All right? And that's the only time it appears. So he pretty much, the other history that reminds me of this is when I think he was a Levite. He had a concubine, and Benjamin, you know, pretty much killed her by abusing her sexually. And then the next day he told her to get up. He saw she was dead, and he cut her into 12 parts and sent her pieces all over Israel to the tribes. You know? So our forefathers didn't play, man, you know? It ain't like this bullshit today, you know. Ah, nice son, please come to me. Nah, none of that bullshit. You know, that bullshit ass demonic incantation chanting, Latin chanting in these Roman Catholic churches. Nah, man, our forefathers wasn't having that, man. All right, now let's go to the book of Esther. And you have to read this whole chapter to get the whole history, because you have something that we celebrate, which is the Feast of Purim. Purim. And Purim breaks down to the Hebrew word pawar yum. Pawar is singular. You have a word called pur. P-U-R. Pur, or in the Hebrew pawar, is lot, singular. Purim, the M at the end, is pawar yum, is plural, lots, because there were two lots. There was the lot of Israel, and there were the lot of the Edomites and the other nations that were trying to get Israel put to death. And the Lord chose the lot of Israel because that is his inheritance. And the lot fell on them to be destroyed, but it fell on Israel to be saved and delivered. And that's why that whole thing went down where, Mordecai, was it Mordecai? Yeah, Mordecai raised up his daughter. I believe her name was Amadatha, her Hebrew name. It was changed to Esther later because Esther is I believe that's a Persian word if I'm not mistaken. And when she was under his care, he raised her. And then he brought her there because this was all set up through the Spirit that she was going to be the queen so that she could help Israel in this particular time because of the calamities that were going to fall upon Israel. So we read Esther 3:1. It says, Haman's plot against the what? The Jews, the Israelites. After these things did King Ahasuerus promote Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite. Now, why did it call him an Agagite? Because he was of the king royal line, going back to Agag. He was related to them. All right. Now Agag was hewn to bits. He was killed, but there were descendants somewhere, because he was called an Agagite because he came from that direct line of the Amalekite king. So he was a kingly rulership, or a kingly line, or a so-called noble line. And this is why Ahasuerus had him as a second in command of his whole kingdom. All right. And it said that he was wise, he was, intelligent, so on and so forth. So we look up the word Agagite. Right. It goes back to the word Agagia, which is, I will overtop, said of Haman the Agagite, of Agag. See? An Agagite, or descendant of Agag. Agagite, which goes back to Agag, which is Agag, king of Amalek, spared by Saul but slain by Samuel. You see? So he was a direct descendant of that line. So he knew what Jake had did back then, to that line. I don't know how many generations this was after that, but the point is, it had to be at least probably like around 500, 600 years later. So you got to remember this but they still remember that history. So it says, Hammedatha the Agagite, and advanced him and set his seat above all the princes that were with him, and all the king's servants that were in the king's gate bowed and reverenced Haman, for the king had so commanded concerning him. But Mordecai bowed not, nor did him reverence, right? Because he was not going to bow down to a man and hold a man in more honor and more esteem than the Most High Yahweh. Then the king's servants which were in the king's gate said unto Mordecai, Why transgressest thou the king's commandment? Now it came to pass, when they spake daily unto him, and he hearkened not unto them, that they told Haman to see whether Mordecai's matter would stand, for he had told them that he was a Jew. And when Haman saw that Mordecai bowed not, nor did him reverence, then was Haman full of wrath. He was angry, not hangry. He was just angry. And he thought scorn to lay hands on Mordecai alone, for that he had showed him the people of Mordecai. Wherefore Haman sought to destroy all the Jews that were throughout the whole kingdom of Ahasuerus, even the people of Mordecai. So his plot was to destroy all Israel. All right, and you can read more. It speaks about, we were speaking about Pur, which is Pawar, Lot. And then you had Pawar Yum, or Purim, which is Lots, Feast of Lots. Okay. Now what I want to do is I want to go to the editions of Esther in the Apocrypha. This is chapter 11. We're going to read this chapter. It's pretty short, and we're going to jump to the previous chapter, and then take it from there, and see where the Spirit leads after that. All right. The rest of the additions to Esther, chapter 11, verse 1. And the 4th year of the reign of Ptolemaeus and Cleopatra. Oh, by the way, Cleopatra was an Edomite. She was they were descendants of the Ptolemaic Empire. There were 7 Cleopatras altogether. This Cleopatra wasn't the 7th one. I'm not sure which one she was. She was probably the first, because you talking about Ptolemy, going way back, and the Ptolemies ruled in Egypt for at least 300 years or so, or close to it. So in that whole time period that they ruled, you had a line of Cleopatras, and they were Edomite, or so-called white women. So when you see Cleopatra being portrayed as a white woman, and you have these so-called conscious community jakes talking about, yeah, see, man, you made Cleopatra to be a white woman. She was a white woman, because you had an interference when Alexander the Great conquered Egypt and installed one of his generals took over that land, which Alexander gave him, and his descendants became the new pharaohs of Egypt. So from around 300 something BC till around 25, 23 BC, all of those pharaohs that were there were all Edomites, so-called white people. All right. You have your Bernices, which were so-called white women. You have your Laodiceas. I believe the Laodicea was of the line of the Seleucids, if I'm not mistaken. Then you had your Cleopatras. Cleopatras were of the line of Ptolemy. 7 altogether. Dissothius, who said he was a priest and Levite, and Ptolemaeus, his son, brought this epistle of Purim, which they said was the same, and that Lysimachus, the son of Ptolemaeus, that was in Jerusalem, had interpreted it. In the 2nd year of the reign of Artaxerxes the Great, in the 1st day of the month Nisan, Mordecai, the son of Jairus, the son of Simei, the son of Sisiah, of the tribe of Benjamin, had a dream, who was a Jew and dwelt in the city of Susa, a great man, being a servitor in the king's court. And when you read about Mordecai being a Jew, that's talking about he was a so-called black man, all right? He was of the tribe of Benjamin. Today he would be classified as a so-called West Indian, so you could understand. Don't be reading this thinking about them small hats, with the big schnozzes. No, sir. Ain't gonna happen. Not around these parts. He was also one of the captives which Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, carried from Jerusalem with Jeconiah, king of Judea, and this was his dream. Behold, the noise of a tumult, with thunder and earthquakes and uproar in the land. This is dealing with Mordecai's dream, a vision that the Lord gave him. And behold, 2 great dragons came forth ready to fight, and their cry was great. And at their cry, all nations were prepared to battle, that they might fight against the righteous people. And lo, a day of darkness and obscurity, tribulation and anguish, affliction and great uproar upon the earth. Right, because Jake was in a state of mourning, because they knew that these gallows were being set up for them to be put to death. And the whole righteous nation was troubled, fearing their own evils, and were ready to perish. Then they cried unto the Most High, and upon their cry, as it were from a little fountain, was made a great flood, even much water, because the nation cried in all them different provinces. They cried to the Lord. That's what the Lord said in Psalms. Hey man, when Jake was catching hell from the pharaohs in Egypt back then, and they were crying to the Lord heard the cry. It's something about a multitude of Israelites crying to the Father in the right name, that the Father, he gets emotional, because we are his people. It says in the book of Jeremiah that when we went into captivity, the Most High cried, but it was to teach us a lesson. That's why the Lord, through the mouth of Jeremiah, told Esau, they whose judgment was not to drink of the cup have assuredly drunken. And now thou, he that shall go altogether unpunished, you shall not go unpunished, but you're gonna taste of it, you're gonna drink it down. My holy righteous nation drank it, that's what the Most High said, and you're gonna drink it. This is Psalms chapter 81:13. Oh, that my people had hearkened unto me, and Israel had walked in my ways. I should soon have subdued their enemies and turned my hand against their adversaries. See? The haters of the Lord should have submitted themselves unto him, but their time should have endured forever. So if all of Israel today was to turn to the east and pray to Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, the Lord will have to come immediately, because of his word. But it's not going to happen because the Most High still has prophecies that have to be fulfilled, And Jake ain't going to. You got these hard, big boulder head Jakes here in America that ain't trying to hear what the word is saying. They ain't trying to hear what the Lord is kicking in their ear. All right, so now let's go back. It says, verse 11, the light and the sun rose up, and the lowly were exalted, and devoured the glorious. Now when Mordecai, who had seen this dream, and what the Most High had determined to do, was awake, he bare this dream in mind, and until night, until night by all means was desirous to know it. So now let's go back to the 10th chapter, and let's start at the 4th verse, 10 and 4. Then Mordecai says, the Most High have done these things. For I remember a dream which I saw concerning these matters, and nothing thereof hath failed. A little fountain became a river, and there was light, and the sun, and much water. This river is Esther, because the Lord used this woman Esther to deliver the nation back then, whom the king married and made queen. This is our Artaxerxes. And the two dragons are I and Ammon, which is Haman the Agagite. And the nations were those that were assembled to destroy the name of the Jews, which we just read about that. And my nation is this Israel, which cried to the Most High, and were saved, for the Lord hath saved his people, and the Lord hath delivered us from all those evils. And the Most High hath wrought signs and great wonders, which have not been done among the Gentiles. So like a scripture came to mind, I don't want to lose it. All right. It says, therefore hath he made two lots, one for the people of the Most High, and another for all the Gentiles, meaning the other nations, beginning with Esau, because Esau is an Amalekite, or this particular Edomite was an Amalekite. And these two lots came to at the hour and time and day of judgment before the Most High among all nations. So pretty much this was a time of judgment. This was the weighing of everything in the balance. You have, different scriptures in Proverbs and other scriptures that speak about that balance. Speak about judgment. Speak about certain things that are being weighed in the balance, and how the Lord brings forth the judgment after he sets forth the sentence. Just like today in America, Babylon the Great, this is the great sentencing that's going on. So like prior to these devils receiving that judgment, that judgment that the Most High is going to bring upon them. So the Most High remembered his people and justified his inheritance. See? Therefore those days shall be unto them in the month Adar, the 14th and the 15th day of the same month. That's why every year, around the 12th month, not around the 12th month, the 14th and 15th day of the month, which begins the 13th at evening, which is the beginning of the 14th day, we celebrate something called Purim. All right. And you have to read the whole book of Esther to really get in depth, of everything that took place and the reason why, and you can read the rest of Esther too, which goes into it. It says, with an assembly and joy and with gladness before the Most High, according to the generations forever among his people. Right. So this is why we keep it. All right. The Lord cast a lot. You had the nation, Esau and the nations, and you had our people, and the Lord chose us, favored us. And that's why Haman and his sons, when you read the history, they were all hung on those same gallows that they were trying to bring upon us. That's why another precept came to mind. Let me go to it. Let's go to Psalms. Matter of fact, before we go to this Psalms, No, let's go to this. Psalms chapter 60 and verse 9. This is King David seeing a vision of the future. He wasn't speaking this when he said this. This is a Psalm of David. When he made this Psalms and he was singing this psalm, he wasn't singing it because in his time the Edomites were more powerful than him. Because Esau was getting kicked in the ass sideways, forward. You know, they was getting enough kicks and punches to their structure. They were getting rocked and rolled. You know, they were getting pulverized. All right. So it wasn't back then. King David and Joab and them, they wasn't afraid of Esau back then. But the Lord blessed Esau with the sword. You know, going back to Genesis 27. And that sword has come to, you know, be a great blessing for them, because look at their sword today. It went from an actual sword and a dagger and a spear, you know, going all the way back to Cain too, to the long range missiles and weapons that they have today, which is a part of their sword. All right. So Psalms chapter 60 verse 9, who will bring me into the strong city? Who will lead me into Edom? So this is a future judgment. That's why Yahushua said, what? Who is this that cometh from Edom? Because the Lord Yahushua is coming to deliver us. He will not meet this devil as a man. He's going to be traveling in the greatness of his strength, to where none of this devil's blessing that they have with the sword is going to be able to touch Yahushua. Yahushua gave the blessing when he was Isaac to Esau, and Yahushua is going to take away the blessing from Esau when he comes back. How about that? It's going to come full circle, baby. It says, will not thou, O Most High, which has cast us off, and thou, O Most High, which didst not go out with our armies? Right. Because we don't have that today. Right? But our defender is Yahweh, Yahushua, and the angels coming back. That's why I said to stay, you know, within the shadow of the Lord, you know, of the Lord. You know, Psalms 91st chapter. You can read that whole chapter. Give us help from trouble, for vain is the help of men. Through the Most High we shall do valiantly, for he it is that shall tread down our enemies. Back then, King David, Joab, the mighty men, they were treading down the enemies. It wasn't talking about back then. It's talking about now. That's why it said, who is this that cometh with Edom, from Edom with dyed garments? And it said that the slain of the Lord shall be many. Now, Psalm 7, we're going to leave you with this. You can read this whole chapter. I would like to read it. It's not that long. You know what? I'll just read it. Psalm 7 and 1. We're just going to go straight to the point. O Lord, my power, in thee do I put my trust. Save me from all them that persecute me and deliver me. Lest he tear my soul like a lion, right? Rendered it in pieces, while there is none to deliver. Yeah, because the Most High gave these devils that power to be in this position of authority with this amount of power. Remember, this is the last leg of the Roman Empire. O Lord, my power, if I have done this, if there be iniquity in my hands, if I have rewarded evil unto him that was at peace with me, yea, I have delivered him that without cause is mine enemy. Right. And our forefathers, one thing they always did was pray. Now, I just remembered reading, and I actually listened to a little bit of the rest in the rest of the book of Esther. I believe that was the 15th chapter when Queen Esther, she set up a prayer. Man, that was a heavy prayer she set up to the Most High, man. That was a terrific, magnificent prayer that she prayed. You know, and that's all I'm going to say. Let the enemy persecute my soul and take it. Yea, let him tread down my life upon the earth and lay mine honor in the dust. Selah, yeah, because King David is leaving it in the hands of the Most High. You see, it ain't in our hands according to our righteousness. You know, we just leave it in the hands of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. Arise, O Lord, in thine anger, lift up thyself because of the rage of mine enemies, and awake for me to the judgment that thou hast commanded. Yeah, we feel that way. You know, Babakusha, Lord, revive thy works. Come and get busy on this devil. Let them do what they got to do so you could come deliver us. So shall the congregation of the people compass thee about. For their sakes, therefore, return thou on high. Right, Israel. The Lord shall judge the people. Judge me, O Lord, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, according to my righteousness and according to mine integrity that is in me. Oh, let the wickedness of the wicked come to an end. Babakushah. But establish the just, for the righteous power trieth the hearts and reigns. My defense is of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, which saveth the upright in heart. Because in Job it says that the Lord is coming to save the island of the innocent. The Most High judgeth the righteous, and the Most High is angry with the wicked every day. So as angry as we can get, we don't get as angry as the Most High. But remember, he is a long-suffering power. He has to suffer these things because his words have to be fulfilled before he could actually do damage to these devils. If he turn not, he will whet his sword. He hath bent his bow and made it ready. He hath also prepared for him the instruments of death. He ordaineth his arrows against the persecutors. What are these instruments of death and arrows? That's those missiles. That's why he gave him all this technology, long-range missiles. It says, behold, he travaileth with iniquity and hath conceived mischief and brought forth falsehood, because that's all they do. From the moment they go to sleep to the moment they dreaming to the moment they get up, it's all about wickedness. And then he makes it happen on the earth because they have the power to do so. He made a pit and digged it and is fallen into the ditch which he made. Right, and this is the point. Just like Haman dig that ditch where he set up the gallows, he fell into that. These devils are going to fall into that same trap of this NWO, their agenda, because that's supposed to be their final analysis, and they want the whole world as slaves. But once they implement that and go so far, the Lord's going to take them down, and they're going to turn around and be the slaves. You know? It says, his mischief shall return upon his own head, and his violent dealing shall come down upon his own pate. Yeah, because they're going to pay because you reap what you sow. He that doeth wrong shall receive for the wrong which ye have done. I will praise the Lord, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, according to his righteousness, and will sing praise to the name of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai Most High. Barakatah Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, who's going to do damage to our enemies. So with that, I pray that you brothers and you few sisters have been edified. Till the next time I say, Shalom.